All right, everybody. All right, everybody. Let's do this. Let's get back to it. Hope you had a good weekend, a good Lord's Day. I had a good weekend. I had a good Lord's Day. You know, it was my wife's birthday this weekend. That was wonderful. No hockey this weekend, so maybe I won't be quite as aggressive today, and maybe that's a good thing. Maybe that's a good thing. Yeah, I couldn't play hockey. One reason, among many, is I went skating earlier in the week. I was just getting my legs back, trying to figure out, what I forgot, since the last time I played. and I was getting really comfortable. So I was doing some, transitioning to backward skating quickly. I was doing really well, getting real comfortable. So I started doing it faster. I got a little too comfortable and turned real fast, fell right on my head, hit my head. I was fine. I was wearing a helmet. I was the only guy in the rink wearing a helmet. Very glad I was. The next morning I woke up with very, very stiff neck, definitely some whiplash, but just now feeling better. So anyway, let's continue. So here's the thing. I am the reasonable Latino. The reasonable Latino. You know it, and I know it. But I happen to also think that even if you take me out of the realm of Latinos, I'm probably one of the most reasonable people on the internet. I think that's a fact, and I don't think anyone could argue that. But that being said, I wanted to take my patented reasonableness and go toe-to-toe with Doug Wilson. When I say toe-to-toe, I mean not really toe-to-toe. Just want to disagree with Doug Wilson. I have 1,000 batting average against him. Simple as that. I'm batting 1,000 against Doug Wilson. That's right. I only have one at bat, but I'm 1 for 1. So I'm putting it all on the line. I'm like the Mets, they always win their first game of the season. And so they're like, yeah, they're in first place in the beginning of the season. And then, of course, the full week happens and things go sideways. But, hey, we're gonna put it all on the line here because I'm going to go ahead and disagree with Doug. Actually, I'm not even really disagreeing with him that much, but we'll see. I'm putting it on the line. My batting average is on the line here. Doug Wilson has a thread here. He was at the Right Response Ministries conference, and so was Eric Kahn for that matter. I did not go to the conference. I am on the board of Right Response Ministries, but I did not go to the conference, and I'm sure it went really well. It looked like it went really well. But while he was there, Doug posted a little thread about the controversy, I guess you could say, between Pastor Eric Kahn and Allie, Beth, Stuckey, the podcaster. And so, I wanted to just put my 2 cents because this is the exact kind of thread that it just needs it. It needs my patented reasonableness. Simple as that. So let me read the thread to you. This is about a little bit of this sniping that's been going on, a little bit of back and forth. It's not really sniping. It's kind of back and forth between Eric Kahn and Allie, Beth, Stuckey. Regarding like the trad wife movement and things of that nature. Remember the video with the sorority girls dancing with the Mardi Gras beads and all that kind of thing? Allie Beth Stuckey is very much against the trad wife aesthetic, but the sorority girls kind of bumping and grinding with the Mardi Gras beads. That was just girls trying to have fun. No big deal. Doesn't make any sense at all. And lots of people have noticed that Allie Beth Stuckey, she's got some feminist tendencies. There's no question about it. And now she's not a feminist and she would be against feminism, but she's got a lot of those tendencies. She's really imbibed a lot of things that she shouldn't have, and she just kind of accepts them as standard, and she really shouldn't. It really works against a lot of what Eric Kahn promotes and things like that. So anyway, here's the thread, and I wanted to talk about it. Doug Wilson says, if I might, I would like to suggest a ceasefire when it comes to Eric Kahn and Allie Beth Stuckey and adjacent participants and bystanders. This is not to pretend that there are no substantive disagreements, but simply to note that the areas of agreement actually do far outweigh the differences. Allie Beth has done an awful lot of good, and I think the best policy would be to let her continue to have at it. Her warnings in that initial clip were quite reasonable. Domesticity is a whole lot easier on Instagram than other places. In real life, there are no filters. But in the same spirit, the Ogden gents are zealous for application and obedience. The modern evangelical world is allergic to practical application. You can differ with some of their applications, but still applaud the spirit of application. We should all be willing to grant that some women in head coverings are in bondage and that some dancing co-eds are in a different kind of bondage. I propose a new acronym. No enemies to the reasonable right and no enemies to the immediate left either. Netralinetial. Netralinetial. All right, that's Doug Wilson's advice. And I think that most of this advice is pretty good. There you go. I think it's pretty good. You know, Doug Wilson has been doing this for a long time. He's brought us very, very far. I think that there's no question about that. He's really set up guys like Eric Kahn. I don't think guys like Eric Kahn necessarily exist without Doug Wilson, and I think that it's worth recognizing that. But now that I've buttered everybody up, it's time to knock it all down. So here we go. I think Doug Wilson's advice is very good in isolation, right? Like if all you saw was Allie Beth Stuckey's video on trad wives, and that's all you saw, this would be really good advice. You might say, hey, Eric, you don't have to necessarily counter signal this. She's right about that. You know, yeah, there's a lot of trad wives out there that are just faking it. And, it's, they're just trying to present this image, but they really don't have the substance, right? And I would assume that that's true because it's the internet after all. I mean, that describes a lot of the internet. People don't have the substance, but they put out an image. And so it's really not that. She's right. Allie Beth is right. But the thing is, though, that we can't just look at this advice in isolation, at least in this case, because if he just gave this as general advice, it'd be good advice. But he's specifically talking about Eric Kahn and Allie Beth Stuckey, and both of them are in a particular context. It's as simple as that. And Allie, this is not the first time Allie Beth has said things like this. And I got to be honest, the trajectory of Allie Beth Stuckey is no bueno. It's no bueno. And she said lots of things about the trad wife movement that simply are not true. And they certainly seem very self-serving because she's made the decision that she's going to be on the internet as a girl boss. And that is not necessarily a good thing. Now, if that's all she was doing, being a girl boss out there, I think Eric Kahn could leave her alone. But that's not what she's actually doing. She's actually not doing that. In fact, I would argue that that this advice would be very good for her to take, because here's the thing: when it comes to like the back and forth and the sniping and stuff like that, and the no enemies to the right thing, a lot of people think that Eric Kahn, counter signaling Allie Beth is violating no enemies to the right. I don't think so. I don't think so, because here's the thing: like, number one, no enemies to the right does not mean that you don't disagree publicly with someone on the right. That's not what it means. And here's the thing: Allie Beth has decided to take up the mantle of the left when it comes to this kind of thing. It's the left's narrative that Christians are out there just faking it. It's the left's narrative that if you are against the dancing sorority girls with the Mardi Gras beads, bumping and gyrating to rap music publicly, if you're against that you must have a secret porn addiction because you look at women as objects instead of something else. If you use the word whore or whorish or hoe or something like that, you must have a secret porn addiction. That's the left's narrative. You can find that on Reddit everywhere. And Allie Beth and others have decided to take up the mantle of the left's narrative on the Christian and put it forward. That was their decision. And so when you're on the right and someone else on the right decides to start treating you the way your enemy, the way MSNBC treats you, which is what Allie Beth Stuckey did in this case. Her arguments against Eric Kahn are indistinguishable from MSNBC. This has happened so many times that it's just, I feel like I'm always saying this. Russell Moore is indistinguishable from at The Atlantic or MSNBC or CNN. And I'm not saying that Allie Beth in general is indistinguishable from MSNBC and Reddit, but in this case, she is. Because here's the thing, the dancing girls, right? The dancing sorority girls, right? I saw that video. By the way, please stop sharing it. I don't need to see it anymore. I saw that video, and when I saw it, in my mind, it did not register as a big deal. It didn't. It was like, no big deal. I didn't have to comment on it, so I didn't. I didn't feel like commenting on it. I didn't see a reason to comment on it. Who cares, right? But that first reaction, I need to understand that first reaction is not necessarily a good reaction, right? Because it is not good that our daughters, like if it was your daughter, right? If it was your daughter, it would not be good for her to be dancing and gyrating to rap music with Mardi Gras beads in front of a bunch of guys publicly. That would not be a good thing. That's not a normal thing. It should not be that way. It is that way, but it shouldn't be that way. And in fact, that is not a some might call that a whorish way to act. Now, I don't use that. I wouldn't use that term. I would not have had the idea to use that term, but it is an appropriate term given what is happening, right? So this is the thing, like, okay, fine, but here's the thing: if Christian men decide to just because it's part of their whole, program, right? Like Eric Kahn's, a lot of his ministry is about this exact topic. Decides to comment on that, and then you come at him, indistinguishable from CNN. You are the one deciding to treat Eric like an enemy. Now, here's the thing: Eric's now got a choice. Eric's got a choice. He can just say nothing, which is a legitimate choice. He can abide by the ceasefire, or he can recognize, yeah, he's under attack, and I'm gonna have to do so. Or I'm gonna say something about it. I'm gonna talk about the trajectory here. I'm gonna talk about the many ways that this person who is now using indistinguishable tactics from Reddit against what I'm saying is compromised in this area. That is a decision that Eric Kahn has to make, and I think it's completely legitimate to go and say, here's what's going on here. Here's what's going on. Allie Beth has said many troubling things. Allie Beth is on a bad trajectory. Allie Beth herself is a girl boss. So, of course, yawn, a girl boss does not like my idea of having a traditional family with the husband as the head of the household and the woman staying at home and working on the home and cooking the meals and doing these things. Of course. I mean, how many girl bosses out there are against that kind of thing? This is nothing new, and it's just new because Allie Beth is conservative, but she's still a girl boss, and so she's still kind of got the wrong ideas about this in general. He can do that if he wants to, and that's the truth. And so I don't think that this principle here of Allie Beth being on the reasonable right or maybe the immediate left, and so we shouldn't have enemies. Sure, that's okay. I don't think anyone on my side says, well, I shouldn't say that. Some people would think she's an enemy. I fully grant that. But calling her out on her nonsense in this case is not treating her like an enemy. You have not taken up the mantle of our enemies to attack this position. And so I think Doug's advice in general is right, but to try to make it seem like there's some kind of this is a standard move that we see done quite often, where there's kind of like an equal error here. There's kind of like there's good people on both sides and there's bad things going on both sides. It's really not the case. And even in the example itself, you can see that that's not the case, because here's the thing. Okay. So we've got the trad wife aesthetic, and some of them are faking it, right? They're in their little dresses making sourdough and pretending to be a trad wife, but they're really a porn star, because that's what was said essentially. Some of these people are porn stars. And they're really just faking it. That's a lot of them are. Not all of them, but a lot of them. That's really bad. Okay, it's bad that they're faking it. Show me, though, the equivalence on the other side, because this is what people are doing. They're saying, on the one hand, the trad wife aesthetic must be destroyed and must be fought against and you must warn about it, because some of them are faking it. But on the other hand, gyrating in public in skimpy clothing and having Mardi Gras beads and stuff like that in public is just having fun. In what world is that aesthetic ever good? See, this is the thing. The trad wife aesthetic can be good. And aesthetics matter, by the way. But But the trad wife phenomenon can be good, right? So even giving them their worst case scenario, some of these people are secret porn stars and some of them are just faking it. That's the worst case scenario, right? But if you followed the aesthetic and you followed what they're faking anyway, it would lead to good results. On what universe does dancing and gyrating with Mardi Gras beads in public with your stomach showing lead to good results? It never does. And yet that aesthetic, for some reason, is benign and the other aesthetic is not. It doesn't make any sense. The trajectory of Allie Beth Stuckey is horrendous. And what she's doing in the span of a couple of days, this was what was so great about this. Because Allie Beth, her video on Founders came out very sternly warning against the trad wife movement. And on the other hand, there's this public display. This is a shameful display. And it happened within the span of a few days, and it doesn't compute to anyone who's trying to make sense of any of this. It is not just wanting to have fun. I know plenty of girls that have fun that don't dance and gyrate in public with their stomach showing wearing Mardi Gras beads. I know plenty of women like that. And yet, that is totally fine, and that comes from the girl boss mindset. That's part of the girl boss mindset. And then, of course, the goalposts, they get shifted. What are you saying, that men aren't affected by porn? No, I'm saying exactly the opposite. Of course men are affected by porn, but that's not why we think this behavior is unacceptable. That's not why a guy like Eric Kahn would use the word whore. That's not why. This is not Reddit. This is not Reddit, Allie Beth. It isn't. It makes no sense. What you're doing makes no sense. This isn't Reddit. And so this is the thing, like, sure, like, you don't have to, throw bombs the other way every time, a girl boss says something you don't like. But here's the thing. This does not violate Netter. This is not something that's going to lead to bad things. Like, look, she can have at it. That's the thing. Allie Beth can have at it. But what she can't do is pretend to be this conservative stalwart in the area of sexuality and then at the same time say, yeah, the dancing, gyrating girls aesthetic, totally fine. They're just wanting to have fun. By the way, what's the big deal? They're wearing backpacks. And then on the other hand, say the trad wife movement is very dangerous because it causes women to believe something that, listen, if you don't know by now that the internet a lot of times is fake, I don't know what to tell you. I don't know what to tell you. That's a lesson that you need to learn at some point. Not everybody out there that's putting out videos of their trad life is real. We understand that. But this is the thing. We're talking about trajectories here. That trajectory of a wife staying at home, taking care of her kids, taking care of her husband, making the food, taking, all that stuff, that is a good trajectory, though there might be problems there. And even this is just again, I have to argue with you here, Doug. This doesn't make any sense. This kind of, again, you're not saying it's equal, but the way you put it here is as if these are like parallel errors here. We should all be willing to grant that some women in head coverings are in bondage. Okay, fine. And that some dancing co-eds are in a different kind of bondage. Okay, fine. But here's the thing. With the dancing co-eds video that you're talking about, that is always bondage. There's no non-bondage version of dancing in public, gyrating with your stomach showing, wearing Mardi Gras beads to hip-hop music that leads to positive results. That is always bad. Head coverings, sure, can sometimes be in bondage, but it's not because of the head coverings, obviously. So I don't understand what's the point of even bringing that up. Sure, of course, anyone at any time could be in bondage. There could be some people in Moscow that are in bondage. We can grant that. Does that have to do with the Moscow project? It doesn't. It doesn't. But we can be sure that the rainbow clergy of a liberal church, that everyone in that church is in bondage and there's no positive result there. We can be sure of that, and they're not the same thing. So, again, I want to say the advice here is right, and I take my hat off to Doug because, again, there wouldn't be an Eric Kahn without Doug Wilson, in my opinion. Of course, God can do anything he wants. We understand that, but I'm just talking about reality here. Reality here. And so, no, I don't think that this is a good idea. The new acronym, no enemies to the reasonable right and no enemies to the immediate left either. I don't agree with that because oftentimes the immediate left decides to go thermonuclear on some people on the right. And though you don't have to say anything about it, because this happens to me all the time and I don't say anything about it, you can if you want to. And you can demonstrate that the trajectory and the whole project itself that this person on the left is undertaking is subversive. And it's been not just last week's stuff, it's been the last few years. It's been the very existence of the conservative girl boss. The very existence of the conservative girl boss goes against the project. And so, I reject this new acronym. No, that's not it at all. This is not Reddit. And people on the right, just because they're on the right, don't necessarily have a pass to treat it like Reddit. That is my wisdom. That is my reasonableness. Doug, I appreciate your... This is actually good advice, though. I mean, even in context, it's good advice. You should consider the wisdom of when to respond to these people, how to respond to these people. Do you go thermonuclear in return? Do you just... what do you do, right? You could say nothing. You could do some things. You could snipe. You could go thermonuclear. Whatever you decide, you should think about it. You should think about it. That being said, this situation, I just don't understand exactly what the point is here. It's not the same spirit. He tries to make it seem like it's the same spirit. No, it's not the same spirit because Allie Beth went Reddit on us. And I say us, I just mean our side. I don't talk about these things, but I'm definitely more sympathetic to Eric's side. Allie Beth went Reddit on us, and we just did what we normally do and say, yeah, this is not, again, this is not unusual. Girl bosses hate this kind of stuff. That's obvious. Girl bosses often downplay the sins of women. That's obvious. This happens all the time. This is nothing different. And so it might be different because Allie Beth is, in general, in agreement with us and better. That's true. I don't think that anyone would deny that. She's done a lot of good. But in this case, she took off her smart hat and put on the Reddit hat. This is not the Reddit hat. Maybe it is. Mets hat. Who knows? So, no, I don't think this is good advice. I'm putting my batting average on the line here. Doug, I love you. It's as simple as that. It's as simple as that. No beef. I disagree, and let's see. I will be the determiner on whether or not I'm still batting 1,000 once I see the comments. It's a good gig, It's a good gig where I get to decide if I've won or not. So now I have 2 at-bats against Doug in the comments section. Let me know if I'm still batting 1,000. That's what I want to know. I hope you found this video helpful. God bless.